Welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Debra. I am your host. I am here on a Tuesday morning, and I've got a client Q&A that I'm going to share with you. And it's come about off the back of my client check-ins and some questions that may really support you, the listener, in your own health and weight loss journey. And I'm here today, midweek. It's been a couple of weeks now, I think, since I've done a midweek podcast, but lucky for you, you've got an extra podcast this week. So before I crack on with the questions, I just want to first of all share a few of my client wins because it's really important to celebrate your own wins, no matter what they are. And celebrating your wins are very important to the continued progress towards your own goals. And if you think about your small wins, whatever they might be, and they can be really, really small, those small wins are like the stepping stones to get you closer to the goal that you want to have. And sometimes we're very quick and easy to look at all the things we didn't do well, as opposed to actually stop for a moment and think about and celebrate all the things that we did do. And it's the things that we do that are really important to recognize. We can work on our challenges, we can work on our struggles. And the way that we do that, by first of all, is by celebrating the small wins. So my client, Vicky, this week achieved all her steps. She got all her workouts in. Her scale weight dropped down to a weight bracket that she hasn't seen before. And so that's really positive and just is a reflection on what she's doing and the consistency that she's been showing over time. Sometimes things don't always happen as quickly as you might want it to or expect it to, but the important thing is to keep staying consistent and not giving up. And eventually, when you're consistent, it takes your body maybe a little bit of time to respond, but it will respond. And it certainly has for my client. Now, I also want to remind you that with scale weight, it will fluctuate up or down. For some of you, maybe daily. For others, maybe there'll be no drop on the scales. And then all of a sudden you have like a bit of a whoosh and then the scales drop and they may drop and then they may come up again. Remember, the scales are measuring your total body weight and not necessarily just your body fat loss, which is why it's important to upload photos. And to any of my clients who haven't uploaded photos for a while, I would definitely recommend that you take some updated progress photos so I can look at any visual changes and I can look at them objectively as opposed to you trying to look at those changes yourself. That's the great thing about having a coach. And if you're listening to this and you're not in coaching and you're only using scale weight, I would really recommend that you take photos because it is very helpful. And also remember, you can measure your progress by how you feel in your clothes, and also your energy levels and just the way that you feel. When you work towards an improved health and weight loss goal, you're making lots of lifestyle changes. You might be improving the quality of your nutrition and exercising and all these things. No matter what your goal are, they help give you they help you feel really good in the day to day, and feeling good is a really big measure of progress, because if you feel good, you're more likely to continue doing those very things that help you to feel good, and then you'll get closer to the long-term goal that you have, or the short-term goal. Long-term goal is always going to be maintaining and improving further your health and your well-being. This client also was able to fit into a pair of trousers that she'd not worn before, as they'd been too tight, which reinforces using your clothes as a measure of progress. Now, my lovely client, Michelle, she lives in a location that enabled her to meet my coaching community and get together with lots of my other lovely clients. We went to Regent's Park for an official event, and everyone had their own individual targets. So for Michelle, she ran a 5K. It's been a while since she'd been running, so she'd resumed running and worked back up to a 5K, which is brilliant. And surrounding yourself with other women who are all working towards improving their health is a really conducive environment to be around. Sometimes you might find in your, day-to-day friendship groups that you don't necessarily talk about weight loss or health, or perhaps everyone has different opinions. And sometimes when you know what it is that you want to achieve, just being around people who are working towards it and share the same methodology like they get through my coaching methods, it's a really, really positive experience. And I had ladies there who were unable to walk without pain, whether it was due to injuries or menopause, aching joints. I had three incredible women who walked injury free, and were pretty brisk as well in their walk, and came in much faster than I had originally anticipated, and they enjoyed it. And then I had other ladies who were breaking personal bests and running super fast. And it's a very, very positive environment. And I do lots of community get togethers, whether it's walks and brunches, whether it's fitness events, whether it's socials, whether it's gym sessions. Now, for Ellie, her wins this week is she maintained being consistently imperfect. This is the first time you've listened to my podcast. You might think, what the hell is consistently imperfect? If you've listened to my podcast regularly, you will know exactly what consistently imperfect is. And what it basically means is moving yourself away from aiming to do things perfectly. Because if you try to do things perfectly, unfortunately, on the flip side of trying to be perfect, if you can't be perfect, the flip side is you'll probably throw the towel in and give up. And it's that I'll start again Monday mentality. Whereas if you can't do things perfectly, is just accept that, you know what, I haven't done everything I'd wanted, but you know what, I'm just going to carry on doing the best I can in the situation that I'm in. I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep going. And this is what being consistently imperfect is. Also, this client, on her feedback last week, I spoke to her about recognizing, other things that are going on in your life, and perhaps adjusting and recognizing that sometimes our priorities shift, and to lower expectations or adjust your expectations of what you expect of yourself. And sometimes we can all be very guilty of being far too hard on ourselves, and we then end up feeling like we're failing at things, and it's not a nice feeling. And it's also not a very compassionate way for you to progress towards your health, your weight loss goal, feel good, manage menopause symptoms, etc. And this client has taken on board my feedback and feeling hopefully a lot better. She hasn't stated, but hopefully feeling a lot better after last week's feedback. And as long as you've reduced beating yourself up, Ellie, that is an adjustment well done. If I'm going to talk about a brain dump, because I recommended one of my clients to brain dump. Now, if you usually go to bed and you have a trillion million things going on in your mind, you're thinking about what you got to do tomorrow, you're thinking about what you got to get ready for your kids, you're thinking about what you want to do for yourself, you're thinking about work commitments, you could be thinking about a multitude of things. And it's very hard for you to get into a relaxed state when your brain is overloading with thoughts of to-do lists and actions and all the things that you need to do or haven't done. And it's not a nice way to go to sleep. So I recommended to this client that she brain dump. And a brain dump is literally have a notepad and pen, or you can use your phone notes and get all your thoughts and all that to-do list out of your head and on paper or in your phone. And then you know that you can start to wind down for bed without those things going around in your mind. And part of the reason they're going round in your mind is you think you're going to go forget by the time you wake up the following morning. And knowing that you've written them down is going to enable you to go to bed knowing that you're not going to forget them, because you've written them down, and you've almost written yourself down a bit of a to-do list for the following day, and you can just work through it. And take your time with it, whatever the time frame is on some of those things. So if that describes you when you go to bed, definitely recommend trying a brain dump. And if you do try it, let me know how you get on. One of my clients is focused on her hydration and increased her hydration. She is struggling with headaches and hoping that the hydration will help with headaches. I would also recommend that if you're not already the best way to look at your hydration and know your hydration levels is after you've used the toilet, been for a wee, is look at the color of your wee. If it's a darker yellow, you know that you need to drink. The pale straw color yellow is a good indication of hydration. You may also be low in electrolytes, and electrolytes are your four. Now, let me see if I can remember them: calcium, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And you can find them in electrolytes. Electrolytes can come in powder form, and you simply add it to your squash or something like that. And you may have low electrolytes. And sometimes when we're working out, or we're very sweaty, or perhaps you're sweating at night a lot, or for any reason that you may be low in electrolytes, is you can simply add it. And I would recommend also trying that. And obviously, if your headaches persist, definitely see your doctor. Now, some of the questions I've had, some of the comments that I've heard this week from clients, I'm going to sort of work through them. I'm not going to put names against them, but I'm hoping that a lot of what they've fed back to me are going to resonate with you. And one of the first ones I'm going to talk about, I'm pretty sure it resonates with most of us, and that is having a really busy and big workload. Now, when I say workload, I mean busy life. We all, in our own ways, have busy lives. No matter how your busy day looks, it is relative to you, and your day isn't necessarily busier than another person's day. Everybody is busy. We are all busy, and we all need to get shit done, but we're all busy. And your busy, my busy will look different, but your busy is relative to you. And how you manage your busy day, I would never tell you how to manage your busy day. I'm not living in your shoes, and I don't know how it feels to be busy in your world in the same way you don't know how it feels to be busy in my world. And we don't need to know each other's busies, and we don't need to compare each other's busy lives, but we all have busy lives, no matter how it looks to you. And it's really not unusual. And I would say 100% of my clients are struggling with busy lives and fitting everything in. And when I say fitting everything in, it means all your additional responsibilities, your work responsibilities, your family responsibilities, life pressures. Perhaps you're looking after elderly parents. You have busy lives, you have commitments, pressures, and lives, and they are going to impact your already busy life. Alongside this, if you're listening to this, presuming you have a health goal, a weight loss goal, there's something that you're working towards. When you're working towards something, there are things that you need to be doing to support the progress towards that goal so that you feel good and you make the progress that you need towards that goal. And you have to find time to that. And you're trying to fit it in around your already very busy day. So, what can you do when life is so busy? So, first of all, I would say, I call it OPS. Organize, plan, schedule, and stick to the plan. OPS. Before I talk about ops, I also want to just touch on priorities. Now, there may be sort of things that I call them curveballs that come into your life. They're not the usual busy life. It's something extra that's just impacted on top of everything else. It will go. Maybe you've got an extra project to get done at work. Maybe your husband's away and you're managing everything by yourself at home and with the kids, plus your own life and job and whatever. Or it could just be, you've got something else on, an appointment, and it's thrown your whole day out. These are like curveballs. They don't stay around forever, but they're curveballs. And sometimes, because of these curveballs, we have to look at our priorities. And sometimes your health priority may come down a little bit lower on the list. Doesn't mean that it's not important, but sometimes, the other thing may be more important. You may need to just rejig your priorities. Doesn't mean that you're giving up on your goal and your priority for yourself, but we just may need to just drop it one notch down the pecking order. So first of all, when we're looking at our priorities, and it could be for the day, for the week, or in general, we may have to adjust our expectations alongside that. Because if you have really high expectations of everything you're going to do in order to succeed in your weight loss goal, but yet you're pulled in a million directions and you're unable to commit the time and the effort to get your steps in, do your workouts, batch cook your food, blah, 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 and do all the things you need to do for yourself to prioritize yourself, we have to adjust those expectations. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up to fail. So first of all, think about your priorities, adjust them accordingly. And if you need to lower or adjust the expectations you're placing on yourself, do that. Then you need to apply ops. You need to be organized, because if you're busy, if you're trying to wing things, and they could be any things, if you're trying to wing things, you're leaving things to chance. And also by winging things, it's a lack of organization, and you're likely going to slip up because you're going to run out of time. Things aren't going to be planned, prepared, scheduled, and there won't be a plan to stick to because you don't have a plan, because you weren't organized enough to make a plan. So you do need to be organized, and busy people generally tend to be organized. And if you're listening to this thinking, oh my God, I am busy, but I'm really not organized, you do need to get a little bit more organized. You need to use your diary or calendar, phone calendar, handwritten diary, whatever it is that you use. You need to be organized, and you need to plan and schedule everything that you have going on in your life into your diary, so you know what you're doing and at what time. No matter what it is that you need to do, you need to know that it's organized. I also want you to recognize that being busy has its advantages, because when you are super busy and you're super organized, it also means that you have less time to sit around and not do the things that you need to do. And also, when you're sitting around, you may be prone to boredom eating, which is not conducive to a health and weight loss goal. And so we have to look at the advantages of being busy. You have to be super organized, and you'll have less time to deviate from the plan and the schedule that you have planned out and organized for yourself. Now, when I say plan, you need to plan all the things that are going on in your life, whether they be work, family, all the responsibilities you have. And then you need to look at what you need to do for yourself. Because if you can't look after yourself, good luck with looking after everyone else, because you're going to feel wiped out emotionally, physically, and psychologically, and you're not going to be able to show up as your best self for everybody else, whether it be at home, in the workplace, etc. So you do need to plan and prioritize some time in your diary to do things for yourself. Now, it might be that you're going to schedule in a walk outside, and you can look at this, what fits in your day, dependent on what you've got on in your day, and schedule it in. And then you commit to the plan that you've created. It might be exercise, it might be going to the supermarket, getting in the food to support your goal, making sure you've got all those foods that you need on hand to support your goal. It might be time to exercise, whatever it might be. Plan it, schedule it, organize, plan, schedule. And then the important part of this, of ops, is stick to the plan. You need to stick to the plan. It's not about whether you feel like it, whether you want to, whether you're motivated. You need to stick to the plan. And that is like your mantra. Just stick to the plan. Now, your plan may need tweaking sometimes. Something's impacted something else, and you may need to adjust the time that you thought you were going to go and exercise. Now it's a little later, or you may have to put it over to the following day. Sometimes that might happen, but you're not going to not do it. You're rescheduling it, and then you're going to stick to the plan. Right, this is live, and I'm going to let my dog into my office. So bear with me a second while I let my dog in. Come on, Ted. We're recording a podcast. Okay. So that's ops. Now, one of my clients has recognized in her check-in that, on reflection from her very busy week last week, that it would have been really helpful if she had batch cooked. And this is something that you can also plan and schedule in when you're really busy. It takes time to batch cook, but trust me, you will save time when you batch cook. Because your future self, when she remembers there's a portion of food in the fridge that you forgot all about, your future self will thank your past self for batch cooking and creating multiple meals. If you are already going to cook more than you need, so you have portions. You can put a couple of portions in the freezer, have a portion to eat and put a couple of portions in the fridge. And it really does make sense when you're busy. And often, not getting things done, whether you're busy or not busy, it's not about not having time. It's usually down to lack of organization. It might sound harsh, but it's usually true. Okay, what happens when you struggle with your own mentality? As in your own sort of my clients put this down, and I'm sort of presuming it's her mentality to her goal and her desire, and just generally how she feels in day to day life. And what I would say is, when the realization of working towards a better health and feeling good in yourself, it's not like you do it for a period of time and then you get there and you stop, because you have to do what you did to get there to stay there and maintain these good feels and good health. And like, it is consistent, right? We have to do these things all the time, but when you feel good, that's the benefit, that's the outcome, that's what motivates you to keep showing up and doing these things every day for yourself. But it's always a good idea to remind yourself of your reason why. Why do you want improved health? Why do you want to lose weight? Because if you don't have a strong enough reason why, then it's very questionable on those more difficult days. Why bother doing anything if your reason why isn't a really strong enough reason why? So really delve into your reason why. What's important to you? And really remind yourself of that. And that might be enough to improve your approach and your own self mentality. Remember as well not to try and overwhelm yourself with throwing everything at your goal and the kitchen sink, because it can feel overwhelming. And you don't need to do everything all of the time. Sometimes, especially if you're feeling a bit low, is to focus on one small intention every day and just ticking off that intention. And I would recommend writing it down so you have the pleasure and that feeling of self accomplishment by ticking it off every day. And maybe then, after doing one thing every day for a period of time, might be a few days, might be a week, you think, you know what, I'm ready to do two things today. And you can build it up slowly over time. What happens if you feel hungrier when you're dieting? And is it normal? A few of my clients this week have expressed that they're feeling a little bit more hungrier than usual. So first of all, we need to recognize, is it due to hormones? Could it be time of the month? If you're having a regular monthly cycle, perhaps you notice an increase in cravings and food hunger at certain times of the month. Could it be also that perhaps your food quality and your nutrition is not filling enough and supporting not feeling so hungry? And if you're dieting and you're in a calorie deficit, experiencing small amount of hunger is normal. We have to accept a small amount of hunger and recognize this comes with dieting. But as I say to my clients all the time, I don't want anyone walking around starving hungry, because that's miserable. I want clients to, and I want all women to, be able to achieve their weight loss goals whilst you live your life. And you don't need to be in a big deficit that's really unmanageable and unachievable, and also has you not adhering to it, because that's not very helpful. So just being in a small deficit will help you manage your hunger. But if you're, obviously with hormonal hunger and cycle, you can also, add a couple of 100 calories on. That you struggle at this time of the month. It's better that you're strategic and increase your amount that you're eating, rather than sort of let it build up and then you can't control yourself and you eat far more than if you'd have just had a couple of extra 100 calories in your day. In terms of food quality, are you having high protein meals? Are you hitting your daily protein target? Are you adding a shit ton of veg and fruit into your meals and, perhaps snacking on them, and making sure that your fiber intake is a good 30 grams a day? And making sure that your food quality, choosing whole food sources rather than your ultra processed foods that come in high calorie. They're really small in size usually as well, and they don't keep you very full for very long. So think about food quality. Now, this isn't my language. I'm quoting what my clients said to me. She said she's got lasyitis. Now, I know what she means by this. I wouldn't necessarily use this term myself. And what I've written in my notes here is really recognizing what your body needs. Sometimes knowing when to, this comes down to self compassion as well. It ties in with self compassion. Self compassion is when you have your best interests at heart. And sometimes having your best interests at heart can mean telling yourself to get your bum off the sofa and out for a walk, or do the workout that you keep putting off, or whatever it might be that you need to do to support your goals. Sometimes self compassion can mean recognizing that actually you've been training really hard, you've been doing everything consistently, you've been working really bloody hard towards your goal, and you feel like you need to rest. Your body might be aching and you need a bit of a rest. This is recognizing that actually you don't usually take much rest. And at this moment in time, you recognize that rest will serve you better. And it's really identifying and knowing you as an individual. If you're always looking to skive off of working out, doing walks, preparing healthy meals, getting to bed at a reasonable time, if you know that you normally make excuses and you don't do those things on a regular basis, perhaps a bit of tough love, which is a form of self compassion, might be what you need. But if you know you tick your boxes all the time, then recognizing sometimes that rest might serve you better, especially if you're unwell or under the weather. Really recognize it. Now, this client has had a week off work and you've taken time off work. So you don't need to be getting up necessarily at the crack of dawn like you would do if you were working to fit in all those things that you want to do and that I referred to earlier on in this podcast. So having the luxury of being able to sleep in a bit later is your prerogative and your choice. It doesn't mean that you don't get your steps in. It doesn't mean that you don't do your workouts. You just now have the flexibility to do them at a time that perhaps suit you rather than what suits your working hours or other commitments that you've got going on. So I don't think it's really lasyitis. I think it's that you've had time off work and your routine has just looked different. And it's fine and okay to allow yourself to recover and rest from your usual working routine and your usual working week. If you had gone abroad, that would be called a holiday and your routine would look entirely different. The fact you stayed at home doesn't change the fact that it's a holiday from work and that your routine looks different. But it doesn't mean that you can't tick those boxes off that support your health. And you have. So let's recognize that. Okay. Can I eat a hot cross bun and lose weight? Now, you notice it like Easter is full on in the supermarkets. You've got all the chocolate eggs and all the Easter bunnies. You've got hot cross buns and all the things that support Easter in the supermarkets. Now, one of the bloody helpful things about tracking your calories is you can make sure that you have enough calories to fit in all the sort of indulgences that you want, right? And if we talk about hot cross buns, just loosely as being one of your indulgences. If you're able to stick within your calorie range target, hit your protein target and fit in a hot cross bun, good on you. Enjoy it. You can have a hot cross bun every day should you want to. No food is banned. No food is off limits in my coaching. All food is included, even ultra processed foods. Obviously, I recommend they're in the minimum and they don't take up the majority of your diet, and they're nice twos now and again. And with a hot cross bun, at the end of the day, it's bread with raisins in or whatever it might, however, there's a range of different flavors out there now, but it's a hot cross bun. If you would like one as a snack with a piece of fruit, why not? And you've hit your protein target in your 3 meals and you're in your calorie range target, go for it. Now, if you're not tracking calories, you're not going to know that exactly. But if you're currently enjoying a different snack at the moment, that it's roughly around 200 calories, which is what a hot cross bun is, and you want to swap it for a hot cross bun, knock yourself out. I don't see any issue with including the foods that you enjoy. You can make it work and still be in a deficit. When I'm training in the gym, should there be a specific target? in terms of increasing my weight or repetitions. Now, if you're currently going in the gym, most women who go into the gym, and I say women because I coach women, I'm sure men do this too. When you go into the gym and you go on a piece of equipment, whether you have a program structured or not, whether you have me writing your programs or not, the chances are you're not working hard enough, because working hard and knowing how hard to push yourself comes with experience and comes with training consistently. And if you have a rep range, say 10 to 15 reps, or 12 to 15 reps, or 8 to 10 reps, whatever your rep range is for a specific exercise, if you're able to do the top end of that rep range, i.e., 10 to 15, and you're doing 3 sets at 15 reps, 3 sets at 15 reps using the same weight that you've been using for the past few weeks, you need to progress. You need to increase your weight, because you are hitting the top end of your rep range. You want the last few reps to be a real struggle, and maybe the weight that you've increased to drops you back down to the 10 rep range because it's too hard to be able to get above 10 reps. And then you work towards building your reps up again to get 15 reps. And that's a really good indicator. But you want your last 3 reps to have what I call your ugly face on. You don't want to be like, oh, this is great. My last rep looks exactly like my first rep. You want to be grimacing for those last few reps. It needs to feel like an effort. Maybe you don't even achieve that last rep because the weight, or the last few reps, if you've only just increased your weight. That is an indicator. There is no set weight for a specific exercise for everybody. It's person dependent. But for this client that asked the question, I looked at your workout data, and you are at your top end of your rep range for many of your exercises, and you're using the same weight. So get increasing and start challenging yourself. And what I would say to everybody listening is, you are more capable and more stronger than you believe. And you're probably holding yourself back in your workouts by being a bit scared to increase the weight. Now, what's the worst thing that happens if you nudge the weight up? And I always recommend doing it incrementally, very slowly. Increase the weight. If it feels way beyond your capability, that's okay. You'll stop and you'll reduce the weight again. Chances are you'll be able to do it. Okay, question just about tracking again. I haven't been able to track as consistently these past few weeks. Now, there's a few things here. Firstly, it's very person dependent. Some clients really do benefit from tracking. I have other clients who don't track at all, and they have made great weight loss progress without tracking. If you're not going to track consistently, you do need to have some kind of meal plan that you write for yourself. Now, I don't write my clients' meal plans. What I do advise for them is the following, is to be consistent with the same breakfast. And if they've previously tracked it and they know it hits their protein target and they know roughly what the calories are, stick to that same breakfast. You know the values of it. You can also have a limited range of your lunches as well. So I would have, especially Monday to Friday, the same couple of lunches that you can stay consistent with. And the way you build your meals, no matter the meal type, is that you start with a protein source. You then fill half your plate with a lean protein source. You fill half your plate with vegetables or salad, and obviously bump up the fiber in your salad by putting some, like what I call more meatier vegetables in that salad, or roasted veg, etc., or air fried veg in that salad. Reduce your carb portion if you're looking for a fat loss goal, and your fats need to be around thumb size. So watch your portion of fats and how much you're having, especially things like avocado, nuts, seeds, foods like that. And this will help you stay consistent. Be aware of your snacking, incorporate 1 snack a day, and then like 100, 200 calorie treat. But obviously, if you can track a day and use it as a template and just repeat it. Flexibility comes with your evening meal, but apply those main principles of how to create a balanced meal when it comes to your health, but also looking for weight loss. And if you're not seeing weight loss progress, the chances are you're not in a calorie deficit. And I would recommend that you do use the tool of tracking and perhaps go back to partially tracking if full tracking feels a bit too much. Is partially track and aim for at least 4 days of full tracking. And I would recommend tracking at least one day at the weekend, because this often is when increased calories can happen and coming out of your deficit can happen. Okay, we're coming to the end of the podcast, and I'm going to read you out two comments that I've had this week about, what do you like about coaching, or anything you want to say about coaching. And someone has written, what I enjoy about coaching is that I love the accountability, because if it wasn't for coaching, I know I'd be back to my old habits, whereas I'm conscious to maintain what I've already learned and apply through coaching, which is great feedback. And another client has just written one word, and that is accountability. And this is the really great thing about having a coach, is that the accountability to a coach really does help you. And, what I would say is, along with the accountability, what I often give is reassurance. And it's usually the reassurance that clients need, to know that what they're doing is they're doing the right things, and that you don't need to be perfect, and whatever is relevant to each individual that they share with me at their weekly check-in. Now, if you're listening to this and you found this podcast helpful, or perhaps my previous podcasts, please do subscribe or follow the show, and also share my podcast with your friends. If you have friends working towards a health and a weight loss goal, they're struggling, maybe they're menopausal, everything feels so much harder. Please don't keep me to yourself. Share me in your chat groups on WhatsApp, your Facebook, your stories, your social media, whatever way you're able to share me with your friends. Please do share me. And it would mean the absolute world to me if you left me a review, because it brings my podcast to the attention of more women. And that's what I want to do, is help and coach more women. Now, if you feel you need more additional accountability, and you want to find out more about coaching, in the show notes, you can click on the link, and it will take you to a very quick coaching inquiry form, and I will get back to you on receipt of that form. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me, and well done to all my clients. I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.